Yeah, but my dad got out of copping and then became a food broker, which we're like, come on, that's
What?
CIA, right?
Yes.
And he's like, no, I really am a middleman for jars of jam.
He works for Meghan Markle. Really
dad-
tiny jams, harvestable jam made from the oils of Montecito.
Well, what's brilliant about what she's doing is she knows people want to spend money, and spending money makes them feel like they're getting something that's better, even though it might not necessarily be true.
You're goddamn right.
You can tell when you watch the show, she thinks just we're all animals and we're all just kind of pigs in the mud, and that she's helping us with jam and honey.
I think Harry's a fucking twat. Like, my life was so hard. Everybody's fucking life is hard.
Yeah,
you were
true.
the prince of
That's
a
true.
goddamn country who dressed up as a fucking Nazi, and now you're trying to come back as the Pope? Suck it.
I said Meghan Markle is, of course, a lifelong feminist, which she's demonstrated by marrying a prince and giving up her job.
Conan O'Brien just destroyed Meghan Markle's terrible jam brand without even trying. The joke wrote itself. Meghan's out here trying to be the next Martha Stewart with her American Riviera Orchard nonsense, and Conan casually obliterated it in one sentence. But that wasn't even the worst of it. Conan also took shots at Meghan and Harry during their Oprah interview era, and the jokes were absolutely savage.
They decided to re-air all the same advertisements that they had aired here in America, but they adjusted the ads slightly for British audiences. I thought that was strange. Take a look.
Ancestry.com for the British royal family. Find out which second cousin you're accidentally dating.
Oreo biscuits. There's a black and white marriage we can all agree on.
I thought the Oreo ad was unnecessary. They didn't need to do that.
These aren't jokes Meghan's PR team can spin into victimhood, but it gets even more humiliating. Conan actually did an entire segment mocking their wax figures at Madame Tussauds.
Now, I was curious what they did with Harry and Meghan's wax figures, so I found the museum employee who's temporarily storing them.
And then he introduced the museum employee storing them.
Oliver, you have generously offered to keep the wax figures of Harry and Meghan safe.
Yeah, that's correct. And if I may, I would just like to say that I'm definitely not using the wax figures for sex stuff.
What?
The creepiest part was still coming, and this is where it gets weird.
They are in a loving home, and I treat them better than the museum ever did. They didn't appreciate Meghan's soft hands or Harry's supple lips. They are in a loving home, Conan, and I treat them better than the museum ever did. They didn't appreciate Meghan's soft hands or Harry's supple lips.
The fact that Conan created a whole character talking about inappropriate things with their wax figures, that's the kind of mockery that sticks, that becomes part of how people see them. But here's where things get really interesting, because Jimmy Carr says something that nobody wants to talk about. He brought up what happens if Charles passes away, and God forbid something terrible happens to William and Kate. One plane crash, one tragic accident, and suddenly Harry and Meghan are back in the line of succession. That's the nightmare scenario nobody wants to imagine. We'll get to that clip in a bit, but first, you need to see what the Osbournes have been saying about Meghan and Harry lately. And trust me, they didn't hold back either.
I think he's a twat. He's a whining, whinging, complaining, woe is me, I'm the only one that's ever had mental problems.
The fact that Kelly felt comfortable calling a prince a twat on television tells you everything about how far Harry's reputation has fallen. This isn't someone the public respects anymore. He's become a punchline.
You've been handed the world and every major contract, you had podcasts, you have all of this, and you didn't deliver because
There's nothing to deliver.
Yeah, because you don't have it. And that's okay. And I think they do have a right to privacy, but that doesn't seem to me what they're looking for.
Here's what stings about Kelly's point. Netflix didn't set them up to fail. Spotify gave them every resource. They had A-list production teams, unlimited budgets, global platforms. The failure wasn't circumstantial, it was fundamental. They genuinely don't have anything interesting to say. Then Sharon Osbourne joined in, and when Sharon starts talking, you know it's going to get real.
The curtsy, the thing she said about medieval times, her lunch with the Queen was like medieval times, which, as you know, is a Disney-type entertainment place for kids. And it's just so horribly disrespectful and just a wine fest.
The whole medieval times thing was ridiculous. Meghan made it sound like meeting the Queen was some oppressive, dark experience. Sharon called her out for the dramatic exaggeration and complete lack of respect.
Cuddly, lovey, holding hands, going everywhere together. It's so disingenuous. It's like, come on.
Body language experts have been saying this for years. The excessive hand-holding and constant physical affection isn't normal for couples who are genuinely secure. It looks like they're performing for cameras, trying to prove something that shouldn't need proving.
It's all just craziness going around and around, and he's turned his life and the royal family's life into a soap opera.
What's wild is Harry grew up watching his parents' marriage get destroyed by media exposure. He knows exactly what happens when you turn your private life into public content, and he's doing it anyway, except now he's the one controlling the narrative and profiting from it.
Do you know what? You've got a great life, you've got a beautiful family, you're so much in love. Move on. Get a life. Move on. And they just can't seem to, because their living is by telling their truth on the royal family. That's how they make their living.
This is the core problem nobody wants to address. Their entire business model requires the royal family to remain relevant and controversial. If people stop caring about the royals, Harry and Meghan become irrelevant overnight. They need the drama more than anyone.
You just think about her children. They have no family. They have their grandmother, Meghan's mum. That's it. There's no cousins, no aunts and uncles, no other grandparents. There's 2 little babies that have grown up that will never meet or know their cousins because they're not growing up with them.
Those kids are going to grow up and Google their parents one day. They're going to see that their grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins exist but want nothing to do with them. Imagine explaining that to a child. Imagine being the reason your kids have no extended family.
I think they're totally lost. You know, one minute they're making a cartoon, then they're doing a documentary on them, now they're saving the world. They just haven't found their path in life yet.
The rebrand attempts are getting desperate. Royal life didn't work, Hollywood production didn't work, podcast host didn't work. So now what? Lifestyle brand, polo documentaries? They're failing because they built their brand on being victims, and eventually people get tired of that story.
It's going to end very, very badly, and I don't know why. It's like history repeating itself.
Sharon's seen this pattern before in Hollywood. Couples who define themselves by their drama, who can't exist without conflict and attention. It always ends the same way. The question isn't if it'll fall apart, it's when.
I haven't from day one been into the fact of, you know, talking about private things that went on in the royal family when they were a part of it. And the thing is, it's just their point of view. We haven't had the other point of view.
The royal family can't respond without looking petty. They're bound by protocol and tradition. So Harry and Meghan get to control the entire narrative, make whatever claims they want, and face zero pushback. It's a one-sided PR war.
Don't bring it to the public. Nobody wants to know about it. Every family has problems. Keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Keep it to yourself.
Most people deal with family dysfunction privately. They don't write memoirs about it. They don't do Netflix documentaries. They don't give Oprah interviews. They handle it like adults behind closed doors. But that doesn't pay the bills in Montecito.
Should she go to her father? Yes, she should. I didn't talk to my father for 18 years. He used me in his companies and all of that.
Sharon bringing up her own father immediately puts Meghan's situation in perspective. Because Sharon had legitimate reasons to cut contact. Her father betrayed her financially, used her for his own gain, and caused real damage. And she still reconciled when it mattered.
Millions and millions I had to pay because my father got me in the crap. But the situation is, when he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, I went to him and took care of him because he's my father.
Meghan's father sold some photos and gave some interviews. That's it. He didn't steal from her, didn't abuse her, didn't destroy her career. He embarrassed her. And for that, she cut him off completely and won't let him meet his grandchildren. The proportionality is insane. The Osbournes opened the floodgates. Suddenly, everyone in entertainment felt free to pile on. At the Golden Globes, Joe Coy delivered one of the sharpest jabs of the night.
Turns out Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will still get paid millions of dollars for doing absolutely nothing. And that's just by Netflix.
The Netflix deal has become the ultimate symbol of their grift. Massive contracts, minimal output, maximum complaining. Joe Coy saying it on one of the biggest stages in entertainment meant millions watching were nodding along. Then Family Guy created an entire animated segment. And when animated shows start mocking you, you've officially become a cultural punchline.
Sir, your millions from Netflix for no one knows what.
Put it with the rest of them.
Babe, time to do our daily $250,000 sponsored Instagram post for Del Taco.
I shouldn't have left the made-up nonsense.
Animated satire works because it strips away the PR spin and shows the raw absurdity. They're not struggling, they're not oppressed, they're influencers with royal titles doing sponsored content while pretending they left all that behind. But nobody dismantled their victim narrative quite like Bill Maher.
They want it both ways. You know, you can't be, these people were so mean to us and poor us, and we don't want all this attention, and then let me write a book about how much we don't want attention.
Maher's frustration mirrors what most people feel. The constant contradiction between their words and actions has moved past annoying into genuinely insulting territory. It's gaslighting on a global scale.
They just strike me as creatures of that generation. You know, you're just fragile. Just take a hint from the Queen, the recently departed.
Never complain, never explain. and rarely be heard speaking in public.
The generational diagnosis hit hard because it explains so much. This isn't just Harry and Meghan being difficult, it's their entire approach to life. Fragility disguised as strength and complaining disguised as advocacy.
You're complaining about your hard life and you're so privileged. It's just so weird.
It's ridiculous. I totally agree.
When you've lost Bill Maher, a liberal who typically defends progressive causes, you know you've gone too far. Even people predisposed to support them can't ignore the ridiculous privilege gap anymore. Even John Oliver, who usually stays diplomatic, couldn't resist weighing in.
I don't think they will change because I don't think they have the capacity to, but they obviously should.
Coming from Oliver, this is brutal. He's not saying they're stubborn or difficult. He's saying they're fundamentally incapable of change. That's a permanent character assessment, not a temporary criticism. Then British satire show Spitting Image took their shot.
In California, we're just a regular couple living close to Oprah and far from the paparazzi. Woo. But not too far.
That line exposes their entire strategy. Close enough to Oprah for networking and credibility, close enough to paparazzi for content and relevance. Every decision is calculated for maximum benefit while maintaining plausible deniability. But one comedian didn't just mock them. He brought up the one thing that makes all of this actually dangerous. He talked about what happens if Charles dies and something terrible happens to William, Kate, and the kids. One plane crash and suddenly Harry and Meghan are back in succession. We'll get to that nightmare scenario shortly, but first you need to hear what happened when the really savage comics weighed in. Because some comedians didn't just go for laughs, they went for blood. Nikki Glaser delivered maybe the most brutal reality check of all.
If she didn't marry him, she would be on The Bachelor this season. Fighting for Prince. She would be Megan M. from Sherman Oaks barista. She's just got lucky.
Without Harry, Meghan's a struggling actress competing on reality TV. The royal marriage wasn't destiny, it was luck. And that luck is the only reason anyone knows her name. Then Tim Dillon entered the conversation, and Tim doesn't do polite comedy.
And nobody is a realer housewife than Meghan Markle, who married this ginger retard and took him out of his racist family so that they could live in Beverly Hills or wherever the fuck they live.
Calling Meghan the ultimate real housewife is perfect. The drama, the victimhood, the constant cameras. She didn't escape that world. She just upgraded the production budget. Same energy, bigger stage.
Harry is an idiot. He signed up to fight in the Afghanistan war. That was a dumb move. You're a fucking prince. What are you doing that shit for?
Look, this is a controversial take, but in my humblest opinion, Harry went to Afghanistan for PR. He's a prince with every privilege imaginable, and he chose a war zone to prove he's not just a spoiled royal. Now he spends his time complaining about how hard his life is. The cognitive dissonance is staggering. These aren't polite jabs about bad interviews or awkward moments. These are fundamental character assessments cutting through all the PR spin and landing on uncomfortable truths. But all these jokes, all this mockery, it would just be entertainment if it wasn't for one terrifying reality. Jimmy Carr brought up what everyone's been avoiding.
My problem with it is people say, oh, you know, Harry and Meghan, you should let them do whatever they want. They should be allowed to do this. People think it doesn't make any difference, but it does make a difference. Because if something terrible happened to William and Kate and the kids, right? The Queen and Charles are very old. They're going to go at some stage. And then you're left with King Andrew. No one wants that.
Is that true? Because you've got a William, then you've got a Kate, then you've got a George, then there's loads of them.
Yeah, they're one light aircraft crash away.
One plane crash, that's all it takes. Charles is old, he won't be around forever. William, Kate, and the kids, God forbid, are one tragic accident away from making Harry next in line. And suddenly all these jokes about their incompetence, their grift, their complete lack of judgment, they stop being funny and start being terrifying. King Andrew was the punchline, the worst case scenario everyone used as a joke. But King Harry with Queen Consort Meghan, that's not a joke, that's an actual possibility. A woman who compared lunch with the Queen to medieval times, a man who aired his family's private conversations for Netflix money. These are the people who could potentially represent the monarchy. This is why the mockery matters. This is why comedians tearing them apart isn't just entertainment. Their behavior, their credibility, their complete inability to handle responsibility, it all has real consequences. Because they're still in the line of succession, they're still technically royals. And if something catastrophic happened, they'd be back whether anyone wants them or not. And that's why none of this is actually funny anymore. So what do you guys think? Are the comedians being too harsh, or are they just saying what everyone's been thinking? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more royal drama.